Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Entering the Veil television series. And we are going to deal with turning back our captivity. This is a very touchy subject because our people do not want to hear that they are captives. But we're going to deal with what a captive is. Let's deal with the definition of a captive, first of all, or dealing with captivity. A person in bondage or slavery, exile, confinement, and under restraint, especially one sold or carried off or seized as the spoils of war. Now, with so many of those that fit us, it's absolutely ridiculous. When you deal with even our people during that Katrina, as I have many of my family members are Louisianians, if I'm saying that right, but they would tell you that upon that Katrina thing, those people were called refugees. Refugees are people without a country. So they let them know that these people did not belong to this country. So, and these were people born in the U.S. of A. and were listed as being refugees, people without a country whatsoever. So that explains that even in dealing with those things, what we want to deal with is how does this so-called African American fit into this situation. When you talk about being in exile and confinement, we know that our people are listed as being 3/5 of a human being.
Exactly.
So even when we go out to vote, they never really had to throw away our votes because they didn't really count a whole vote.
That's right.
So throwing away the vote and not counting it was not a situation that even had to happen. We said bondage, slavery. We know that our people were gathered up and brought here on ships. Everybody else came here on their own will. Our people came here under bonds, under restraint. We still have those restraints under us, naturally and spiritually. If more than 10 people of our people gather on a corner, the police are there because they are afraid of what our people may do because the nations know what they did to us. I'm going to open up in Jeremiah chapter 29, and I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, "For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. I have not sent them, says Yahweh." And a lot of people have said, oh, we're free, we're not slaves, and all of these things. But we're going to get into that. Verse 10, "For thus says Yahweh, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place." Now we know that first Babylon, that natural Babylon, was what they called Iraq. But you'll find as you get into these prophecies that Yahweh said he's going to send us as captives again. And this Babylon will be totally destroyed. Iraq was not totally destroyed. Verse 11. "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then shall you call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And you shall seek me and find me when you shall search for me with all your heart." And we don't want to deal with searching with all our heart. We say, well, I love the Lord. But what does it say? It says that these people are near me with their mouth, but their heart is far from me.
Exactly.
Verse 14, "And I will be found of you, says Yahweh, and I will turn away your captivity," which is the title of this program, Turning Back Our Captivity. He says, "I will turn back your captivity, and I will gather you from all the nations, and from all the places whither I have driven you, says Yahweh, and I will bring you again into the place whence I caused you to be carried away captive." There's no other nation of people on the face of this earth that can say that they were led away from their homes captives. Nowhere in this earth that anybody can make this claim other than this so-called African American, which is a horrible term that was given to us and pushed by Jesse Jackson because our people kept having names that changed. It was Afro-American and all these other things, but the African American term gave our people some place to hold on to, and it was false hope, and it was a lie. So when you talk about how this fits our people, not only were we slaves naturally, but even to this day, we were made slaves to this corporate system. Can you describe or deal with a little bit of that?
Oh, absolutely. In this system, one of the things that we were told in the beginning was not to, I'm gonna send you into a foreign land under a cruel oppressor, but don't you learn his ways.
Right.
Not only have we spiritually learned that and assimilated naturally, but we've become slaves to this corporate system. In Isaiah, and I'm gonna read a little bit of that, is Isaiah chapter 49, verse 24, it says, "Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered?" We are actually termed lawful captives in this particular book because, first of all, Yahweh told us, he gave us a culture and actually told us what to do. And if we didn't do that, we would be punished for our sins. So lawfully, we are termed as captives in this particular foreign land. But that rabbit hole goes deeper than what most people really realize.
And the fact that you say lawful captives, these Gentiles actually still have the ledger because it was a business.
Yes.
They still have the shipping records of the slaves that they bought. So when they say lawful captives, they say, "Hey man, I bought that Negro fair and square. I still got the receipt."
It's actually how some of our people are really tracing back their heritage beyond Africa, because those records, we were listed as merchandise.
Exactly.
Of course, slave boy, slave girl, slave woman, 50 years old, in descriptive terms, like any other property or shadow property that you would actually have.
Very good point. Very good point. Go ahead.
Actually, and corporately, another thing that we don't really realize is just how much slaves we really are to this particular system. The economic system, of course, in this land is something that we're also slaves and captives to it. We're working for a debt-driven society that we can see already is crumbling before our feet. But Yahweh is the God who, is the God of prosperity, and I hate to use that word because it's a term that
right, people take it way out of right.
It's not that kind of prosperity. Ours will be spiritual, and of course then those other natural things will come along. Matter of fact, we're prophesied to leave this country in the second Exodus with all of the spoils of Egypt and Babylon, just like it was before in the first Exodus.
Right, and real prosperity is land ownership, even as these people will tell you today. And you don't own any land here. They have eminent domain. And most of us list our property with these titles and things that they have you list. They really own those things. We don't really understand that we're selling our souls when we even sign ourselves up with the birth certificates and all of these things and the marriage certificates. These are the people that own your life, and they own your marriage because you registered those things with them, and you just have a usable form of it, but it belongs to them. And then our people are sold on the stock market as the same way we were sold naturally before. Now we're being sold behind our backs, and we are the backing for those loans that they keep talking about. You're the backing for that loan, and we're being forced to support a system and paying a large amount of taxes. They have people that have situations where their property value has gone down when it's time to sell, but yet when you receive your tax bill, all of a sudden the property value has gone up. Now, how can it be lower to sell but higher for you to pay taxes on? We're being robbed, and we're slaves in this system, whether you believe it or not. Just because you have $1 million in the bank, you are $1 million slave in this country.
But listen to this. I'm going to read Isaiah 5, chapter 5, starting at verse 5. It tells us how we got into this particular fix that we're in. And it says, "And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down, and I will lay it waste, and it will not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns, and it shall also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it." Verse 7, For the vineyard of Yahweh of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold, oppression, and for righteousness, but behold, a cry. And I'm going to drop down to verse 13. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. I'm going to drop down to 24. Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so the root shall be as rottenness, and their blossoms shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of Yahweh of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore the anger of Yahweh kindled against his people, and he has stretched forth his hand against them, and has smitten them, and the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. And he will lift up an ensign to the nations from afar, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. None shall be weary nor stumble among them, none shall slumber nor sleep. Neither shall the girdle of their loins be loose, nor the latchet of their shoes be broken. Whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs shall be counted like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. And he's talking about our deliverer. And verse 30, it says, and in that day they shall roar again. They shall roar against them like the roaring of the sea. And if one look unto the land, behold darkness and sorrow, and the light is darkened in the heavens thereof. So he's telling us how we've come to this state, and what he's going to do to turn back that captivity.
Right. I want to go into something in Lamentations 5 and deal with these things, because we know that our people were bred here in this chattel slavery system. Our people were bred building the strongest man to the strongest woman, and making a strong people naturally. But understand that how we were able to be conquered is because Yahweh spiritually took our strength, because we would not follow the laws, statutes, and judgments that were given unto us by Yahweh. Lamentation chapter 5 and verse 1. Remember, O Yahweh, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. Other people live in our lands. Other people have possessed our houses.
Absolutely.
All right. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. And we're talking about this very thing follows us to this day. Verse 4. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. These are things that people do not want to deal with here, that we have been punished for the sins of our fathers. When you talk about that Egyptian captivity of being a 430-year captivity, when Yahweh came in to punish them, there was no person that had lived 430 years. But he punished all of Pharaoh's house, and the firstborn of all of the Egyptians died. So they had to deal with as well the sins of their fathers. In fact, that they were the ones that had us originally in that slavery system up under them. But they just benefited from it. Well, there's a whole lot of people in this country that have benefited from the slavery here, and it's going to seem so unfair to them about what has happened. But Yahweh knows all of these major corporations and all of these things were built off of slave money. Okay? So, yes, people have inheritance, but where did those inheritance come from? It came from the backs of the slaves of this so-called African American, which is truly the Hebrew Israelite. And when you get into that 430-year captivity, a lot of people want to say that that is that captivity that was spoken of. For it was written, it says, what was told to Abraham, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they will serve them and afflict them 400 years. Now, for that to have been the captivity that Yahweh was speaking of, that means Yahweh would have had to make a 30-year mistake.
That's right.
Because it is written in this book that the children of Israel came out of Egypt 430 years to the very self same day. So if they went in on a what we would call a Tuesday, they came out on a Tuesday. If they went in on the first of the month, they came out on the first of the month. Now, why would he be that accurate on the day and then be off 30 years?
That's right.
Right. It doesn't add up. Verse 8. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. We got our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. And I don't care what you do to other people. They don't just turn dark for no reason whatsoever. Verse 11. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the city of Judah. Princes are hanged up by their hand. The faces of the elders were not honored. In our chattel slavery,
yes,
we know that they didn't care whether the person was old, young, child. None of that mattered. And if you get in the book of Deuteronomy in chapter 28, you can find all of the instances that deal with our slavery, and no one on the face of this earth can say that they have encountered those things. It spoke about a yoke of iron, yes, being on your neck. We still have pictures of that slavery system with our people pictured with that yoke of iron and pulling this thing like an ox made to plow a field.
Exactly.
We still have pictures. No one else has those pictures. So when you deal with the children of Israel and what's even written in the New Testament, blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. This is why our people do not understand what is going on. Now, we want to review these some of these blessings that were promised to Israel. A lot of times people want to deal with one part of that. They want to deal with the curses, or they want to deal with the blessings, but not the curses.
Right.
So we dealt with those curses because this is how we end up in this situation. So let's deal with some of these the blessings that were promised to Israel.
Well, one of the things that we can pick up very easily is that, we were promised that we would bring forth the kinsman redeemer. And that, of course, is Yeshua,
right,
HaMashiach. And I'm going to pick that up in Isaiah 59, verse 16, and it says, "And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness sustained him. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and a helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of from Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith Yahweh." That's one of several promises that we had. Another one was promised to us. We can find that in Jeremiah 33. Let's pick up a little bit of that in Jeremiah 33 and verse 22, I believe. Yes. 33.
And when you look at these blessings that were put upon the children of Israel, we can even go back to the front of the book and find all of the things that happened to Jacob. It was not his own kinfolks didn't want to let him go because he carried a blessing upon him, even being a servant. This is something that's hard for us to understand. How can I be a slave but still carry blessings to the people that surround me?
Let's just pick up verses 22 through 26. "And as the hosts of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea measured, so will I multiply the seed of Dawid my servant, and the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah, saying, Considerest thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which Yahweh hath chosen, he has even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should no more be a nation before them. Thus saith Yahweh, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of heaven and the earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and Dawid my servant. So I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy upon them. There's also a prophecy about us in Genesis 22, and I'd like to read a little bit about that. I'll pick that up at verse 15 through 18. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, by myself I have sworn, said Yahweh, for because thou have done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gates of his enemies. And in thy seed shall the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice.
Yeah, I think we need to go to this. There's one in Zechariah 12. I think we need to go and deal with that, because this so-called African American has been under so much stress. It's hard for us to imagine ourselves in any kind of power role because of everything that has been shown to us. And it's not just this African American. You have a lot of people teaching that all of these other places and all of these other people are Israel. But what happened is the children of Israel were sent as slaves and spread across the four corners of the globe. So we have people that are in these lands, but it doesn't mean that all of these lands are people of Israel. The people that came there, if the people came there as captives on ships, those people are Israel. You have them all in South America. Matter of fact, it is more of our people in South America than it is in America, this America. So we kind of get a little selfish and deal with things just here. So those slave ships did land in South America, just like right here in North America. There are blacks here, and we were the only people that came here via the slave ships. All the other people that came here, they're not Israel, but they're here in America, right? Well, then that's the same thing that you have to deal with in other in some of these other countries. You can't just say, oh, this whole country is Israel. No, the people that were sent there as slaves on ships, those people are Israel.
That's right. So that's Zechariah
12 and 6. Yeah.
Also, we were promised in Exodus 19 and 6 that we would be a holy nation, a nation of priests. And this is something that we don't often consider. Israel was chosen as Yahweh's chosen people to spread his righteousness and this word around the globe. And instead of choosing that, we chose to follow the nations instead of being leaders to the nations. And it was in one of the previous passages that we picked up where it says, we have taught the Gentiles all our ways, so that now they blaspheme Yahweh through us. We are examples of that blasphemy. But these are the things that Yahweh is going to turn. He's in the process of turning our captivity. But first, in order to do that, what he has to do is get our attention. And, we'll begin to see some of that in some of the scripture that we're about to read. America, we're in the land of America, Babylon right now. Babylon is falling. We hear this in songs and familiar quotes and things of this nature, but Babylon truly is falling.
And you can read and deal with that. Matter of fact, let's go into that, and I'm going to go over here in Jeremiah 50 and talk about some of those things. Please understand, when you're talking about the fall of something, especially of this country, understand that America was not discovered in the time that this book was written. So you have to learn how to read to make sure that you know what it is talking about. It says, verse 2, declare you among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken. Baal is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there shall come up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. And we know that that north country is Russia, which will definitely come to invade America, as it was written. What was it? As it was said by Nikita Khrushchev,
Yes.
Who took his shoe off at a United Nations conference and beat on the table, saying that it was given to us by prophecy. We will bury you. Well, these are the prophecies they're talking about.
That's right.
The country out of the north, it says that the Medes will destroy the daughter of Babylon. And we know that that daughter of Babylon is this country that has sprung out of Europe, which is America, and she is full of idols. I think we need to, for time reasons, we want to go into how will some of these things occur. I think we need to probably go into maybe Psalms. We would be like those who dreamed,
right,
and deal with some of those things, so we can close this out and try to give our people a really good view of what's going on.
Great. Just a couple of verses. Psalms, I'll start at verse 126, verse 1. When Yahweh turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dreamed. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. And then said they among the heathen, Yahweh has done great things for them. Yahweh has done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Yahweh, as the streams in the south. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him.
And, you know, when you talk about our people being set back in their own land, even when you get down to the point of Noah and the spreading out, or even at the Tower of Babel, you'll find that everybody had their own land. And we have our own land as well. I want to probably go ahead and close this out in Ezekiel 39 and verse 21. He says, and I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am Yahweh their Elohim from that day forward. A lot of people have no idea who Yahweh their Elohim is. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity. Iniquity means lawlessness.
Yes.
And we have been lied to and told that the law was nailed to the cross. So you see why we have so much lawlessness. Because they trespassed against me, therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. So if you wonder why we are powerless here in this land, Yahweh did this. There's no reason to go around and hate Gentiles or anything of that nature. Yahweh took our power. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. I'm going to jump to 26. After that they have borne their shame and all their trespasses whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwelt safely in their own land, and none made them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. Then shall they know that I am Yahweh their Elohim, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen. So we know that it was Yahweh that brought us as captives among these heathen people because of our disobedience and not keeping the laws, statutes, and judgments that were given unto us. And one of those things that was given to us was to honor the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. And these are the things that we try our best to keep. So log on to our website, theuci.org, and we keep our Sabbath class at 1 p.m. on Saturday, every Saturday. We thank you guys for tuning in to Entering the Veil. And on behalf of the United Congregation of Israel, Shalom.